Hi, my name is Allison Sump. So, first, I want to talk to you about what end of life care actually is. The aim of end of life care is to provide and achieve a dignified death, preferably in the place of the patient's choosing. And what that means is, for example, if you have an elderly woman who is told, you have a week left to live, she can decide to spend that last week of her life in her own home with family, friends, pets, and the comfort of her own home, rather than being in a hospital attached to wires and tubes and monitors. She can choose as her own end of life care plan to be in her own home, and her family, friends, and healthcare professionals have to respect her decision. Also, communication between patient or legal guardian and healthcare professionals and hospital staff. Communication is very vital in order to make sure that all decisions made are in the best interest of the patient and that all of his or her wishes are acknowledged. So, who should talk about end of life care? And the answer to that is everyone. All adults should talk and have a plan for their end of life care. Now, some people will say, I'm healthy, I am a very safe driver, I'd never get in an accident. But the reality is, accidents do happen. People do have heart attacks. People get into the hospital for whatever reason. You can't avoid mistakes in life or accidents or things that happen with your health. Sometimes you can't avoid those things. So it is very important that every person have a plan for end-of-life care. This will benefit not only yourself in the occurrence of an accident or a health dilemma, it will benefit family members, friends, and also the hospital staff or healthcare professionals involved. It'll benefit them. It'll benefit your family because if you specifically have stated in your will or your advance directive what you want to happen if there is an accident, then they do have to respect your wishes. And I think that's important because you don't want your family telling the doctor something that might not be accurate about what you want. Also, it is very important for the doctor as well because if they have an idea of what they think might be best for you, and you yourself have a different idea or a different preference of what you would like, then they have to listen to what you want rather than what they just have as a preference for themselves. The steps that adults should make to create a end-of-life care plan, first of all, they should sit down and create an advance directive or a living will. And to do that, you can either do it with a doctor. If you have any questions, that might be beneficial to do it with a healthcare professional. Or you can do it at home as long as you have some sort of verbal recorded or written document stating what you want to happen in case of an end-of-life care situation. Then that is very good. Also, having a durable power of attorney for healthcare is very important. And what that means is if you were in an accident and for some reason they couldn't find your document stating what you wanted to happen with you for end-of-life care plan, you have a individual who may be a family member, a close friend, a parent, someone you trust significantly, then they will make decisions on your behalf in the instance of an emergency situation. And it is important that you discuss your choice of durable power of attorney with your family and with your healthcare professional, your physician. It's important that you talk to people about your choice because when it comes down to it, they might not agree with you, and you need to discuss with them why you chose this person and why you trust them with the life decisions that you're making.
Hi, my name is Kimmy Vu, and I'm going to be talking about our case study as well as advanced directives and the role of healthcare professionals in relation to these advanced directives. So, in order to explain end of life issues and end of life care, we develop a case study that involves a woman. Her name is Jane Smith, and she is 58 years old. So, about 2 years ago, Jane Smith was involved in a car accident that has left her in a vegetative state since then. She has shown no sign of improvement, and while she does not have an advance directive, she has appointed a healthcare proxy through writing. So, this legal surrogate or healthcare proxy is named Paul Smith. He is Jane's husband, and he's 49 years old. So, he wants his wife off of life support because Paul believes that Jane would not want to be kept on life support for so long, and also he doesn't believe that she is going to recover from this after being in a comatose state for so long. He is also afraid of Jane developing any disabilities or issues from being on life support so long in the case that she does recover. However, Paul and Jane have a daughter. Her name is Samantha Smith. She is 19 years old, and Samantha would like Jane to be kept on life support because she believes that Jane would want another chance to see to Samantha and Paul and to be with her family again. So, through a healthcare proxy, Jane has appointed a legal surrogate. This legal surrogate must be aware of the patient's wishes, and the benefits of having a legal surrogate is because not every single patient can think of every single situation that might occur, and not every single patient can be prepared for this, and they can't exactly make an advanced directive that is going to be detailed enough to explain what they would want in every single situation. So the healthcare proxy, or through the healthcare proxy, the legal surrogate is trusted to be aware of every single, or not to be aware of every single situation, but to be prepared for any situation that could occur to the patient, and they are willing and able to make decisions in behalf of this patient. So an advance directive is what Jane lacked in this situation. An advance directive is a guideline for healthcare professionals to kind of see roughly what the patient would want in each situation. And this can also let the healthcare professional know what the patient would not want in any situation. So in this advance directive, the patient can appoint a legal surrogate. And so this is what, while Jane did not have any guidelines for her health care in her document, she did appoint legal surrogate. And the role of the healthcare professional is healthcare professionals should make sure that nearly all, if not every single patient that walks through their doors has an advance directive. In order to do this, they must check to see if a patient has an advance directive once they're admitted to the hospital or the healthcare location. And if this patient does not have an advance directive, the healthcare professional should be willing and able to answer any questions that the patient has about advance directive. They should explain what an advance directive is and ensure that the patient creates one as soon as possible, just in case of emergency situations.
Like Kimmy mentioned, an advance directive is a helpful guide for family and healthcare professionals to know the patient's wishes in case of an unfortunate event. This takes the guesswork out of deciding what's best for the patient in times of trouble. In an advance directive, a person has the right to designate a surrogate decision maker. A surrogate decision maker is a person who makes decisions on the behalf of someone who is unable to do so. According to the Patient Self-Determination Act, patients have the right to designate a surrogate to make treatment decisions if they are unable. But what should a surrogate's decision reflect? First of all, a patient's wishes should be shown through the decision if they are known, but most times they are not. However, if a patient's wishes are not known, their best interest should be kept in mind. The surrogate should compare the benefits versus burdens on treating and not treating, with also taking in consideration the physical emotional, and mental health impact of treating and or not treating, the patient's dignity, dependency, life expectancy, potential of recovery, side effects, and religious beliefs. The surrogate's decision has priority to anyone else's. A surrogate decision maker is commonly the daughter, but sometimes the son or spouse. Depends on the family structure. In our case, Jane Smith was involved in a car accident that left her in a coma. While she did not have an advance directive, she had appointed her husband as the surrogate. However, Jane's daughter was unhappy with the surrogate's decision about ending her life and removing life support. If you were in a car accident today and needed a surrogate to make decisions for you, who would you choose? Would it be a parent, a spouse, a significant other, or a child? It's something that we should ask ourselves every day. If I was in this position, who would I want? An advance directive and appointing a surrogate is something that is so beneficial, and people don't realize how important it is until they're in a situation where they need one and don't have one. We're now going to play a video clip that discusses the real life people, their perspective on talking about end of life care. While it's difficult for some people, it's easier than others. Hope you enjoy.
Do you think it's important for people to discuss end-of-life issues?
It's hard enough that you don't even say I love you on a regular basis, so to start talking about death is a very sensitive subject, period.
I think it's important to know what they want, but also have that conversation about if you would feel comfortable making those decisions for them.
Should I say that it's okay to let her have 2 or 3 other procedures when even the end result is she's going to end up passing?
Have you had that conversation?
I have not.
Why do we have so many people who are dying in ways that they did not want? Often ways that are more painful, more isolated than they wanted.
My mom had dementia at the end of her life, and she couldn't decide what she wanted for lunch, let alone what she wanted for health care.
We were on a screen porch and asking him about what he wanted, but it was hard to talk about.
In a situation where there haven't been conversations, what I witness is unnecessary suffering. When suffering is prolonged, I feel like I'm not able to care for people in the way they ought to be cared for.
I don't know if I'm ready to have the conversation with mom or dad, and then it's always too early until it's too late.
These are things that are best discussed way before a crisis.
I felt shocked, blindsided, unprepared. And after my mother's death, I began to talk with others and did discover that I was not the only one. You have to have these conversations. You do not know what the people you love want until you talk about it.
My name is Emily Locke, and I'm going to discuss our stance on the situation of end-of-life care. So making the decision on when to remove a loved one's life support is a very emotional situation. As a healthcare professional in this case, it's important to be empathetic towards the daughter, Samantha, and also supportive of the husband, Paul, at the same time. This decision is not easy for either person, so it is vital that the healthcare provider makes everyone feel like their opinion is valued. It's also imperative that the healthcare professional considers who should be granted the legal surrogate decision maker for Jane, since an advance directive was not completed before she was left in a coma. One article by McGowan, titled Legal Aspects of End-of-Life Care, demonstrated the order of relatives that is typically considered when determining the surrogate decision maker. One quote from McGowan states that if the patient had previously identified an in an advance directive, document, or proxy form, that surrogate has authority. Generally, in order of priority, the decision maker is first, the spouse, second, an adult child or children, third, a parent or parents, fourth, an adult sibling or siblings, and fifth, an adult relative or relatives. In this case study, it appears that the husband Paul would be the most suitable surrogate decision maker for Jane. As a healthcare provider, it is also important to judge the situation, to consider if the surrogate has any ulterior motives when deciding to remove the life support. In our case, Paul has waited patiently by his wife's side in hopes of a recovery, despite her showing no signs of improvement. It appears that Paul is not making the decision for monetary gains, nor is he making a selfish decision. He truly has his wife's best interest in mind. Ultimately, Samantha will be very upset. However, it's legally and ethically right to remove the life support when Paul reaches that conclusion. If an advance directive would have been made before Jane was left in a coma, her whole family and the team of healthcare workers would have known her wishes for end-of-life care. Healthcare professionals should know that helping their patients prepare for end-of-life situations by creating an advance directive can help ensure that all family members and healthcare providers on the team are aware of the patient's preferences. As a healthcare provider, it is also important to encourage patients to discuss end-of-life options with their spouse or with another close family member, especially since advance directives are not always accessible during emergency situations. Having one's healthcare request explicitly stated can also help ease tensions between family members with opposing views. Advance directives can be very helpful in cases similar to this.
That you're making. All right, as sort of an overview of our presentation, and in conclusion, we have a few points we would like you to remember and take away from this presentation. First, it is very important to have an advance directive in place involving your end-of-life care plans. Second, in absence of an advance directive or a will of any type can cause emotional and or legal problems with family members and healthcare professionals. Also, appoint someone that you trust as a durable power of attorney for healthcare or your legal guardian, because it's important to discuss this with family and you want to make sure that everyone's on the same page as you, because this person is making decisions on behalf of your own life. And lastly, just be prepared. You can never be prepared enough in a situation that is involving your own life. So we all think that it's very important that everyone has an advance directive or at least a durable power of attorney in place so that in the instance of an accident or a healthcare emergency, everyone, including your family, friends, healthcare professionals, just to make sure that everyone is on the same page. So it's very important that you have these things in place.